Well, welcome everyone. I am Steve Savant. We're broadcasting live from the heart of Phoenix, Arizona on KXXT Family Values Radio. And I also want to welcome our online audience on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And I want to give a big shout out to Beyond Fear to Freedom, one of the best Christ-centered fellowships that provide a safe and loving community for women in recovery. Just check out their website at beyondfeartofreedom.org. And don't forget, if you want to chat with me, the Steve Savant, go ahead and write me at steve@180uturn.com. That's steve@180YOUTURN, uturn.com. And I'm happy to answer your questions as best as I can. And today, our third day in, we're talking about Blake Dallavira's story. Blake, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I have to say, I love the thing about people's stories and how I know the end game, right? I know what's going to happen, and it's glorious. But till we get there, I have to tell you, and most people know I've been in prison 15, 16 years. I've heard it all, and I never get used to it. I cannot get used to it. Listen, if you are walking in the Lord and you hear stuff like this, your heart just goes out. Your empathy, the compassion of Jesus just comes out. You can't help yourself. Okay. All right, so let's pick up where we were. You finally got, I still can't believe you went to Watts, of all places. This is not L.A. Hollywood to find my singing career. No. This is a completely separate issue. Yeah. And you moved back to Phoenix area.
Well, before that, my car was stolen. Everything I owned was stolen from me. And I just had this feeling. And it was the first encounter I think I had with the Lord that I didn't know at the time. But I got this overwhelming feeling that I needed to leave immediately. And so I called up my mom. I was like, I need to come home. And
what'd she say?
She said, absolutely.
Was good.
She didn't even know what the heck what I was doing, and she was so grateful to hear from me. And so I get home, and come to find out, my mom was like, I'm so glad you're home because I had a dream that you were shot and killed on the street. And come to find out, the people I was living with shot and killed someone. And to me, that was like, wow. That was not a coincidence that I had this feeling like you need to leave immediately. And I think that could have possibly been me, because I probably would have wanted to be cool and join in and help out. And that was my first experience where I'm like, something is watching over me.
Now, do you remember what you just said at the front end of that paragraph? You said, this is maybe your first God event, but you're not conscious of it, right?
No. Okay. I'm like some angels or something,
Now, I just want to let you know, there's a major connect here on the maternal string from mom to daughter here. And there's no doubt in my mind that sometimes the Lord will use dreams and visions and things to get the attention of mom and dad or whatever on behalf of their children. And I've had, not a lot, but similar issues from time to time in my parental time, and I understand that. So I totally get that. So now you're back in Flag at home. Seems pretty safe.
Yep. I'm living with... I'm living with my parents, and I decided to go back to the people. And the guy that I was living with...
Okay, let me stop you. Why, though?
Because I'm an idiot.
Okay, but there's no other reason?
Well, I wanted drugs.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wanting drugs.
All right, so you went back, you had a boyfriend, right? Is that correct?
No, this is before that. But I went back, and the U.S. Marshals showed up at my parents' door. Oh. And they were like, we're looking for Blake. She's been hanging out with this guy that's on the run. And I was driving them around in my car. And so long story short, I was like, you know what? My family's in danger. They know where my family lives. These people that I was hanging out with are not good people. And they were not happy that the U.S. Marshals spoke to me and were trying to work something out with me. So I was like, you know what, Mom? I think I need to go to Phoenix. I need to get out of here. So she buys me a apartment, and this is when I begin stripping. And what's funny is that my mom and sister both took me to my audition for dancing.
Well, did they know what this was?
Yeah, they knew that I was going to go stripping, and my mom bought me a 6-pack of beer, and my sister joined me in the audition, and she sat in the audience. And I think they were just so scared for me that they just were happy I was alive, that I was doing well. So I think it's not like I don't think that they necessarily encouraged this behavior. They didn't know what to do. They were just so afraid for my life that they were like, whatever she needs to do to stop being around these people and just whatever, you know?
It's the lesser of two evils in their
right,
mind.
Yeah.
Okay, well, of course, that's balderdash and, crazy thinking. Most people that are listening to this today, when you descend into the realm of strip clubs and the complete abrogation of self-worth and self-dignity for the sake of men who could care less about you, right?
Right.
And you know that, you're actually cognizant of that. It's pretty dark. And I mean, think about this. I remember going to a trip. We just got done with a convention. I was speaking at the convention for business, not this. And they took us. They said, "Steve, I would really love a great steak." And so they took us to this place. And as we got closer and closer to the doors, we had parked. I noticed that there were poles in the distance through the door. I could see poles. And it dawned on me, oh my gosh, this is a strip club steakhouse, right? I didn't really realize they did the combination. And I got to the door, and the guy went to open the door for me, got ahead of me, and opened the door. And I said, guys, I can't go through there. He goes, "Why? What are you talking about, Steve?" I said, my companion, this is a true story, my companion next to me, and of course there's nobody's next to me. He's looking at me, looking at the air on my right side. And I said, my companion will not allow me to go in there. And he goes, "Steve, what are you talking about?" I cannot go in that room. Yeah. He says, "Well, Steve, what are you talking about?" I said, Jesus will not allow me to go in that room. I just want you to know, it's not that I had guts or that I'm Mr. Courage or whatever. I just know that I cannot do. And I'd rather be ridiculed all the way back to the hotel for it, which they didn't. We went out, still had steak, and we didn't really talk about it. I told my wife, who seemed to be very endeared by the entire event. So I just want to let you know, guys, listen, I have brothers and sisters that are not walking right in the Lord right now. And if you're going to these clubs, you are way out of bounds. Way out of bounds. And you're not fooling God, and he's not winking at this. This is a complete degradation and a complete, in my view, abrogation of society to let these girls do this. All right, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you.
That's okay. So I started stripping, and the thing was, with dancing, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And what's funny is, well, it's not funny, but it was actually very sad. One of the nights that I was giving a lap dance, I had a flashback of the night when I danced for all those Mexican men, and I lost it. I went into the dressing room, and I just cried, and I cried. And after that, I was like, I just left, and I couldn't go into work without being high or drunk. I was so ashamed of myself. I just felt so gross and nasty, and because the guys would try to touch you, even though they weren't allowed to. They would try to touch you. They'd try to take you into the VIP room and, touch you. And the way the girls made the most money was they would go home with them after the club. So it's pretty much like illegal prostitution, And so this is where I met my next long-term boyfriend.
Okay, are you doing heroin at this time?
No, not yet.
Okay, so we're right at the cusp.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's actually, I left work one night. I had my heels in my hand, and I just moved. It was probably like I'd been there for a couple weeks, and I get there to the gate, and I didn't have my gate key, and this man was standing out there, and I said, "Hey, can you let me in?" And I was like, we talked, and I said, "Come over to my apartment. We're partying," and he did, and so he hung out every day.
The apartment your parents paid for.
Yeah. And we were all doing meth and doing shrooms, doing everything. And then someone came over with heroin, and I tried it for the first time.
Smoking?
Yeah, smoking heroin. And I fell in love with it. It was like so much, I felt peace. I thought I felt peace. Just this overwhelming warmth that I've never felt. I just didn't care about anything. And so him and I, of course, I ended up getting evicted from that apartment because I wasn't doing the right thing. And so now we're on the streets together, and I'm still dancing. We're staying. His mom doesn't know, but we're staying in the backyard of her backyard in her little trailer. And so we're staying there, and then we decide, let's start selling heroin. So we start selling heroin. We get
Okay, we or he?
Well, he does. I'm helping him, but he's the one that's doing the main thing. But I'm delivering.
Now you're going to go deal. You're going to be helping in the dealer process.
Yep. And so we, when you're dealing and you're using, it doesn't really work because you use all your drugs. And with heroin, it's not like meth. If you don't use, you're sick. You're sick. It's like the flu times 10. And so we would use all of our drugs. We would we used it all, and we would end up being homeless. And so we were either living in our car, selling the drugs, or living in, staying under parks or under bridges. And it was just a mess. We were staying on couches, couch surfing. And this whole time we were sometimes dealing, sometimes not, because we'd use it all. And it was just a cycle, this really horrible cycle. And we never knew if we were going to get food, if we were going to sleep, if we were going to shower. We had 2 backpacks to our name, dirty clothes.
But somehow you were okay with this lifestyle.
I was okay with it, yeah, because I wanted to get high. And once you get high, you numb out and you don't think about what your life and the depravity that you're living in.
You're talking not only about idolatry in the spiritual realm, but now your body is so overtaken with the physiological need that it overcomes every other issue, whether hygiene, living right, just knowing where your next meal's coming from. This is, the Bible says that the Greek word for sorcery is pharmakos, which is our translation for drugs. Huge issue here. It's not just doing dope, it's opening you up to a whole new realm of the demonic. Yes. I just say, listen, when we come back from this break, we're going to talk more about Blake's. I'm so sorry to say there's going to be another downside. We got to go here. We'll be right back, right after the break. How many? 2, 3 times the detox center?
Yeah, 2, 3.
2 or 3.
But you don't have to travel it alone. Every Friday night, like-minded women gather together to share and their stories.
I write descriptions for every episode, so sometimes
by the power of God.
Underline something that I
new life in Christ. For more information about Friday night, just go out to their website at beyondfeartofreedom.org. If you can't get to BFF on Friday night, or you don't live in the Phoenix area, you can stay connected by joining BFF's Subscribe Tribe, where you'll receive their weekly study guide, so you can track with them online. Just sign up today on BFF's website at beyondfeartofreedom.org.
Yeah, it's hot. This is hot stuff.
With Debbie G and Sharon, their own life experiences and their biblical influence will overhaul your thinking, your identity, and your future. They'll keep you encouraged with some great insight and biblical truth. Just friend them on Facebook or go out to their website at beyondfeartofreedom.org. Where you can just discover the best friends forever.
Well, welcome back to our second segment of our third episode of this saga of Blake Dallavira. I just want to say, Blake, you sometimes you shock me because yes, you don't look the part, and you certainly things have changed for you now, right? I mean, you're physically you're changed, right? I mean, you're physically changed. You cannot understand until you've had revolution happen to your heart. There can't be a small tweak job here. Can't be a small alternate. We need an extreme makeover. Yes. God has to come in and invade. You have to have a collision course with your conversion, right? Yes. I mean, just if you want to change, this is the only way to go. And boy, when you're in this lifestyle, this is the only thing that can happen. Yes. Is God's got to come big. Okay, well, I got to save that for tomorrow. All right, now you've been in and out of detox during this time too. So it sounds like you're trying to get rid of this stuff in your life.
Yeah, because I started hard drugs at 18, and I've been doing it a couple years now. About probably 20 years old now, and I'm just so tired. I'm tired of living this way. I'm sick all the time. I have nothing to show for my life. I just feel like a loser. I feel like I haven't accomplished anything. I have no worth, and I'm just, I'm tired of being sick is the main point right now.
While you're going to detox.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I might as well go get better, and then I can go out and use again. So it's very...
It's crippling to me. When I first read this story, I did not realize that the vast majority of everything we're talking about in the last 3 days is before you were 20. Mm-hmm. I thought we were into your mid-20s. At the time, I didn't know your story.
And that's why it was so hard for me to remember all this, because it all happened one thing after another, and it was just boom, 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 boom. And so I just was going balls to the wall crazy. And so it just wore me down. I mean, I'm not sleeping. Obviously, I have to use meth to stay up because we don't have anywhere to sleep. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so tired. I'm sick, I'm tired, and I'm just over it,
Now, you're with your boyfriend.
Yeah.
And you're arrested again for weed and heroin. Mm-hmm. And this time, this guy's going down.
Yeah.
He's going to get arrested. He's going to be prosecuted. He's going to be sent away.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to set this up because this is very important to me. You never really realize how codependent you are on relationships until an event like this occurs where you lose it. Like I just had a friend of mine lost his wife of 39 years.
Wow.
She just died out of nowhere. He was so interreacting with her. He was so synergistic with her, right? Now, you expect that for that. But when this guy gets in trouble, and they're going to put this guy away for some time.
Well, so he'd been arrested multiple times throughout our couple years together. And that was some of the times when he was arrested was when I went and tried to get help, right? But so when he got arrested the first time, I took the blame for it. I said, oh, this is mine. So I got some charges, and now I have 2 felonies, okay? And he has all these other charges, and so a couple months later is when he gets arrested again, and this is when he's going down for
But now
time.
you didn't do time.
No.
No, but he is.
He's going to do time.
Okay, when he left, your world crashed. And I mean, this isn't just crash. This is a guy that you really, although again, as a father, when your daughters bring home guys, this isn't the guy that you're looking for her to bring home.
No, but at the same time, this guy helped me, and he saved my life in many instances because I was just so dumb, and I would do anything to get my drugs, and I would backstab people. I was just crazy, and he stopped a lot of bad things from happening to me, and kept and you bond with people when you're on the streets with them and you're living this life. You bond with them. You have a special bond that you take care of each other in a sense. And so when he left, I was all alone. I was all alone, and I didn't know what to do with that.
When you found yourself, he's off to prison, right? Are you communicating with him or trying to? Or can you visit him or no?
No.
Can't visit him because he out of state?
He was in Arizona, but because I had a felony, I couldn't.
You could,
right.
Okay. And did they give you probation for your felony?
They did, and it was unsupervised, so I completed it quickly, and luckily I completed it and I continued to use. So,
I'm sure looking back, you can say to yourself, "Yeah, I got a felony, but the only thing I got was probation." Right? I never did time.
Not really.
See, I mean, remember, 90% of people that come through here have done some serious time.
I should have. I definitely should have. There was many times I got arrested and they just let me go.
When you think about if you're talking the whole realm, your whole story from 16 to 20, which is only 4 years, is one story of codependency, whether it's on alcohol, drugs, male companionship. It's all codependent.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
All of it. And it's so hard to break out of the orbit of a lifestyle, of such self-absorbed lifestyle, and break away. We'll be talking about that tomorrow. But when I think about it, you're sitting there. What are you going to do now that the person that's been basically keeping, on one hand, I'm thinking, how safe can he be? But
well, he also was the first one that ever taught me how to shoot up heroin.
All right, so now we've crossed over from smoking heroin to shooting heroin.
Yep, and that's why I'm getting extremely sick, because it's a lot more than I would usually do.
Okay, well, how did you talk yourself into this? You knew better. You've seen other people shooting and what it did to them.
And I don't like needles, so I don't. That's an interesting one, but I just wanted to get more high. I was getting to a point where I was smoking enough, but it wasn't really doing much for me.
There's a resistance that builds up just from the inhalation of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so shooting mainlining is another whole nother level of devils. And you said the descent into that is even sicker than the traditional way of smoking meth and heroin.
I don't know if it would be sicker, but it's definitely, it's like playing Russian roulette, because you could give yourself too much at one time and overdose. You can't really.
How do you know the size of the prescription you're taking, right?
I didn't. He did it for me every time.
Okay, so you're talking about your boyfriend who's no doctor, right? Who's just got street experience.
Yeah.
And I let me just for our audience sake and my own curiosity, most people just cannot conceive that you would put your life in somebody else's hand for a shot of heroin.
Yeah.
Just give me that insight.
Well, I mean, he'd been doing heroin a lot longer than me, so he was pretty good at it, and he could do it quickly. So I trusted him, and then eventually I learned how to do it on my own. But you just get so you just don't care. That's the thing. You completely lose all sense of care, and you just go with whatever's next.
I'm enjoying the thought of how God replaces complete zero value, zero self-esteem, and he replaces it all with himself. He swallows up the hole that we put in our own body. And by the way, little side note, my first time in the heroin area, when they used to separate it in the jail, I used to greet the girls coming into jail. And I'm shaking hands. And one little gal, her arms were so boogered up. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. And I didn't mean to look at her arm. I knew better. I've been around in prison enough to know not to look down there. But I just gazed down, and she pulled away from me and hit her hands and ran into chapel. And I came across the other side to sneak in because I can't spend any time with her more than anybody else. Any bias, any kind of spending more time, even if they needed it, I can't do it. You just can't show favoritism in any way. And I walked in the back and I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you self-conscious about your scars, heroin scars. And her line to me, she goes, look what I've done to myself. And I said, I want to give you a verse. It became her life verse of all time. Oh. I said, Isaiah 49 says, he's inscribed our names on the palms of his hand, and the hole in his hand is bigger than all the holes you put in your arms. Yeah. And she just broke down and started crying. Became her life verse. You don't understand that sometimes you're going to have a life verse that will break the curse and wake you up out of your oblivion. In your case, when you're thinking shooting it now, how long did you shoot during this period?
About a year, 6 months to a year.
So you're a vet now, right? I mean, you've graduated from smoking to shooting, right?
Yes.
Do you see any other avoidance? Are there people you're just going to wind up going there if you start smoking? Yeah. Would you not say that's true?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So definitely.
So whatever you thought you could do, because a lot of people are, okay, I'm an athlete.
I told myself I would never be. My friend, when I found out she was using heroin, I was like, what is wrong with you? Why would you do heroin? Right. And then I hate needles.
Right.
And so when I just started using, I was like, what? That's so crazy that the things that you never think you would do, you end up doing.
Mm-hmm. And knowing that it's not good for you on top of it.
Right.
So just to help out us, it's illogical, everything we're talking about. Nobody disputes that. It's irrational, right?
Right.
But that you don't understand the craving of the soul to be filled, and it isn't by dope.
Right.
But I know we just become, in my view, we just become unconscious, right? But we're setting aside all these things. So in your case, you spent a year out there.
Right.
You ever got infected, bad needle, nothing like that? Because that really, if you didn't, that's a wow.
Well, I can say that, so he goes to jail, and I go into detox. This is the first time I go to detox. I call my sponsor. She takes me to a detox. And then I end up living with her. That didn't last very long. I went back out again for the last time. So.
Did you know it was the last time?
I didn't know it was the last time. But I remember, so I'd been out, I was living with more men, and they weren't my boyfriends or anything sexual, but they were just my, place to live, and my meth and stuff and heroin. And I just remember looking around, and I'm like, and now I'm on the streets by myself. I don't have my boyfriend. I'm all alone. And more vulnerable. And so I'm living with this guy, and I just look around, and I'm like, these are my friends. Like, I have one friend. He's a 55-year-old man who doesn't care about me, who just wants to use me for sex eventually. And I just decided something's got to change. Something has to change. And so I remember I did a shot for the last time, and I thought it was a wrong shot. Something was going to go wrong. And I remember writing a prayer, and it was like a salvation prayer. It was like, Lord, help me. I don't know what to do.
Well, we come back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about God's intervention in Blake's life. Awesome. I can't wait to get to Holy Thursday. Believe me. Listen, if you want to go to Beyond Fear to Freedom's Friday night, 5:30 to 6:15, childcare is provided, both men and women. Just hop out to their site, beyondfeartofreedom.org. I'm Steve Savant. Until next time, remember, no one's outside the reach of God. No, not one.